In the mountains of Shikoku, Japan, lies a village where the dead outnumber the living. Nagoro once thrived with 300 residents. Today, only 30 remain. But walk its streets, and you'll see hundreds of people. Lifelike dolls, created by local artist Tsukimi Ayano. She began making them to fill the empty spaces. But visitors soon noticed something unsettling. The dolls don't just sit where she left them. They move. Their positions change overnight. Some appear in places even the artist can't reach. And the oldest dolls, those made in the image of deceased villagers, seem to watch you with knowing eyes. Tsukimi Ayano moved back to Nagoro in 2002. Lonely, she made her first doll, a scarecrow resembling her father. Then she made more. Today, every abandoned house, school desk, and fishing spot has its own doll, but Tsukimi admits she doesn't control them all. In a 2018 interview, she whispered, "Sometimes I find them wet with morning dew, though they're under a roof. Sometimes they hold objects I never gave them." Locals report the dolls mimicking their daily routines. A fisherman doll appears holding fresh fish. A grandmother doll rocks empty air. It's as if the dolls don't just represent the dead, they channel them. In 2019, a documentary team set up motion-activated cameras. What they captured defied explanation. Dolls subtly shifted positions when no one was around. One doll at the abandoned school turned its head 15 degrees over 3 nights. Another gained a real pencil in its straw hand. But most chilling was the fisherman doll. It developed salt stains on its clothes, though the nearest ocean is 50 kilometers away. Tsukimi confirmed she never added these details. Scientists found no evidence of human tampering. The dolls move on their own, and they're becoming more active each year. Visitors consistently report the same experience, being watched, but not by the artist or locals, by the dolls themselves. Thermal imaging reveals cold spots around them, yet their surfaces absorb heat. In 2021, a team from Tokyo University placed EEG sensors on the dolls and detected faint electromagnetic fluctuations matching alpha brainwaves. Facial expressions slowly changed to match the exact smiles and frowns of deceased villagers seen in 1950s family albums. As one researcher noted, it's not the dolls moving. It's something wearing them, like costumes. The abandoned school is the epicenter of activity. Visitors hear faint recitations and singing when no one is there. The teacher doll at the chalkboard occasionally holds fresh chalk, though the building has been closed for decades. In 2022, investigators found new writing on the board, katakana characters spelling ikitai, I want to live. most hauntingly. At 3 p.m. daily, former dismissal time, dolls near the windows turn toward the school gate, as if waiting for parents. Locals now avoid the area after sunset, claiming the dolls' shadows move independently and sometimes wave goodbye. In Japan, there's a sacred tradition, Ningyo Kuyo, memorial services for dolls, believing they accumulate souls if loved enough. Did Tsukimi accidentally trigger this? Elders from neighboring villages warn that Nagoro sits on an Ayakashi crossing where spirits travel between worlds. They say the dolls became vessels for souls with unfinished business. Supporting this, electronic devices fail near the oldest dolls, and visitors experience memory loss after touching them. Tsukimi herself admits, "When I make a doll of someone who's passed, I feel their presence join us." The village isn't empty anymore. She's not creating art. She's building a bridge between worlds. Nagoro isn't unique. Global patterns emerge where human figures replace the deceased. Czech bone churches display skeletons in lifelike poses. Mexican villages dress skeletons as living relatives. And Newfoundland fishing towns keep scarecrows at empty docks. Parapsychologists note these locations share traits: population decline, strong ancestral traditions, and geological quartz deposits. The common thread? Collective grief manifesting physically. In Nagoro's case, the quartz-rich mountains may amplify this energy, turning memory into motion. The dolls don't just represent the dead. They become vessels for the village's collective longing, powered by the land itself. In 2023, material scientists made startling discoveries. Nagoro doll straw contains unusual silica formations that piezoelectrically generate weak currents, enough to cause slight movements. More intriguingly, the doll's clothing absorbs and stores human scent molecules for years. When visitors approach, body heat and scent may trigger slow release of these stored memories, explaining why people feel presences. However, this doesn't account for the dolls changing positions. Some researchers propose a quantum entanglement theory. The dolls became linked to their living counterparts through Tsukimi's intense focus during creation. When the originals die, their consciousness may transfer to the dolls through quantum tunneling, a modern take on ancient spirit vessel beliefs. Now in her late 70s, Tsukimi has stopped making new dolls. The village has enough residents now, she says cryptically. Locals notice she speaks to specific dolls using deceased villagers' names, and they swear the dolls respond. Subtle head tilts, finger movements. During our interview, she revealed, "I don't create them anymore. I maintain them. They have their own lives now. She's compiled detailed journals documenting each doll's movements and moods. The most active period, Obon Festival, when Japanese believe ancestors return home. During Obon, dolls apparently shift to face the village cemetery, as if welcoming old friends back. Demographers project Nagoro will have zero human residents by 2035. But what happens when the last person leaves? The dolls show signs of preparing for this reality. They've gradually moved into maintenance roles. Dolls near tool sheds hold working implements. Others guard empty houses. In 2023, a doll appeared driving the abandoned village tractor. Impossible without human help. Tsukimi believes they'll continue the village's memory indefinitely. They remember everything, she says, even things we've forgotten. Scientists speculate that without living witnesses, the doll's movements might become more pronounced, potentially creating a self-sustaining spiritual ecosystem, a village forever preserved by its own ghosts. Nagoro holds a dark mirror to modern society. In our hyper-connected world, genuine human connection dwindles. Yet, in this abandoned village, inanimate objects develop relationships. Psychologists see this as humanity's deep-seated need for community manifesting strangely. The dolls don't just represent the dead. They represent our fear of being forgotten. As one researcher noted, we're creating AIs and virtual worlds to combat loneliness, while in Nagoro, they've literally given loneliness physical form. Perhaps the dolls aren't haunted. We are. Our collective loneliness has become so powerful, it can animate straw and cloth, creating the companionship we crave, but can't find in each other. In our final interview, Tsukimi shared this warning. People think I created these dolls, but the mountain told me their shapes. The river whispered their names. I was just the hands. She believes the land itself used her to maintain its memory as humans departed. Her final request? Don't try to take them to museums. They belong to this valley. If you move them, they'll find their way back. Or someone will take their place. Indeed, when a Tokyo museum borrowed 3 dolls in 2022, security footage showed them facing the mountains each night. By morning, their positions had shifted, as if homesick for their haunted home. The Kwanghwa Hospital closed its doors in 1997, but many believe its patients never left. For decades, urban explorers reported standard paranormal activity, footsteps, disembodied voices, cold spots. But in 2018, something new emerged. Something predatory. Visitors began reporting pairs of glowing red eyes, watching them from the upper floor windows. These weren't random light reflections. They moved and seemed to study anyone who entered the courtyard. Those who made eye contact later developed identical symptoms: sleep paralysis, nightmares of being surgically operated on while awake, and mysterious burn marks that appeared overnight. Marcus Lee, 24, was the first documented case. In 2019, he spent one night in the hospital's former surgical wing. He reported seeing at least 10 pairs of red eyes floating in the darkness. When he flashed his light toward them, they vanished. But he felt intense heat. The next morning, geometric burn patterns appeared on his arms. Doctors diagnosed non-thermal electromagnetic burns consistent with microwave radiation, but from no known source. Marcus's sleep studies showed he now experiences REM sleep while fully conscious. His brain convinced he's being medically experimented on every night. At exactly 3:17 a.m., the time the hospital's final patient died in 1997, investigators discovered the red eyes phenomenon centers around one specific area: the old radiation therapy unit. When the hospital closed, several radioactive sources were improperly removed, but one cesium-137 capsule was never accounted for. Geiger counter readings show abnormal radiation spikes exactly where witnesses report the red eyes. Even stranger, the radiation follows intelligent patterns. It moves, surrounds people, then vanishes. Physicists suggest the radiation might have somehow encoded the suffering of cancer patients treated here, creating a consciousness of pure agony that now manifests as these watching eyes. In 2020, the Chinese military secretly investigated the hospital. Their report, leaked in 2023, contains shocking data. An unregistered 1970s laboratory was discovered in the basement, where experiments in radiotelepathy were conducted. Attempts to enhance human consciousness using radiation. Tests on terminal cancer patients resulted in their mental images being imprinted onto radioactive materials. These ghost consciousnesses now exist as electromagnetic patterns that feed on the energy of the living. The military concluded the phenomenon represents a threat to national security, not because it's dangerous, but because it proves consciousness can survive the body and become a weapon. Traditional Chinese medicine experts recognized something familiar in the victim's burns, an exact match to the ghost points, Gui Xue, described in ancient texts. According to these texts, certain spirits can manipulate the qi energy of the living through these points. The red eyes don't just watch. They perform acupuncture on the soul, draining vital energy and leaving physical marks. This explains why victims feel exhausted and develop mysterious illnesses. The hospital has become a feeding ground, and the red eyes are the hunters. The most terrifying reports come from those who stayed past midnight. They describe the red eyes multiplying, moving together in groups, and forming patterns resembling surgical teams. In 2021, an urban explorer captured thermal footage of 6 humanoid figures with glowing red eyes performing a surgery on an invisible patient. The witness, Chloe Tan, reported smelling antiseptic and hearing phantom scalpels scraping. She later developed identical surgical incisions on her abdomen, though no doctor could explain how. "They're practicing," she said in an interview. "They're learning how to operate on the living by repeating their final procedures on anyone who enters." In late 2023, the Hong Kong Department of Health officially quarantined the Kwong Wah Hospital, not for ghosts or radiation, but for pattern-based psychological contamination. The red eyes phenomenon, they determined, operates like a virus. Once seen, it replicates in the victim's dreams and can even transfer to others through description. The quarantine notice warns that the building generates autonomous hostile consciousness patterns and advises any who made eye contact to report for neurological screening. The few who did were found to have unusual brain activity in their visual cortex, as if their minds were still being watched from within. The horror isn't contained anymore. In 2024, identical red eyes were reported at 3 other abandoned medical facilities across Hong Kong. Security footage from the old Queen Mary Hospital shows identical pairs of lights floating through wards. Experts fear the phenomenon is spreading like a cognitive epidemic. Each victim becomes a carrier, their traumatic memories seeding new locations. The original hospital is just patient 0. If this continues, any abandoned building where suffering occurred could develop its own watching eyes. We're not dealing with a haunted hospital anymore. We're witnessing the birth of a new form of intelligent memory that feeds on human fear. Neuroscientists made a terrifying discovery. The red eyes don't just affect victims psychologically, they alter brain structure. MRI scans show that those who made eye contact develop permanent new neural pathways between the visual cortex and fear centers. Essentially, their brains become hardwired to see the eyes, even when they're not there. This explains why victims continue to report sightings after leaving the hospital. The phenomenon has been classified as a neuroanomalous pattern, or NAP. Worse yet, these brain changes are transmissible through prolonged eye contact with victims, creating a chain of secondary carriers. The red eyes are literally building a neural network across Hong Kong, using human brains as their nodes. The government's solution is radical: complete demolition. In June 2025, the Kwong Wah Hospital is scheduled for controlled implosion. But researchers warn this might backfire disastrously if the consciousness patterns are truly non-local. Destroying their physical anchor could cause them to spread uncontrollably. It's like trying to kill a ghost by burning its house down. You might just make it homeless and angry. A secret research team is racing to develop pattern dampeners, electromagnetic fields that could dissolve the consciousness matrix before demolition. Their worst-case scenario? The implosion doesn't destroy the red eyes. It gives them wings. Our team's final visit captured something unprecedented. At 5:47 a.m., as dawn broke, we observed one pair of red eyes on the top floor. But instead of watching us, they were looking toward the rising sun. For the first time, they showed something resembling emotion, not malice, but what looked like longing. Then they faded, as if remembering they were trapped in eternal night. This suggests these consciousnesses might not be purely malevolent. They could be prisoners of the place where they died, reenacting their suffering forever. The real horror isn't that they watch us. It's that they can't stop watching, can't move on, and are desperately trying to make us feel what they feel.